Another video where you have to listen to me drone on and on, but there's two things that I want to address in this video. The first is debugging. So sometimes we have issues in our code, especially when you're working on your personal website, where you may not be able to figure out what's going on. So always first check your code in W3C School's validators. So those will give you those initial errors. But maybe it's something more with your formatting. Maybe there's something you can't figure out how to do or where it is on your page. One of the techniques that you can use is to comment out code. So comments in CSS, you can use a slash asterisk, and then that starts your comment, and then you close your comment with an asterisk slash. So you can move these comments or write these comments wherever, and whatever is highlighted in code in gray, but in other text editors it may be another color. They're comments, and they're not interpreted by your browser in any way. So you'll never, these rules will not be interpreted by the browser. It won't know to add this font family. It won't know to do this background color. And if you comment out some of your code, then you can kind of tinker with it and play around. And this is very useful in other programming language. We'll practice that some more in future languages. But for CSS, again, slash asterisk to start, asterisk slash to stop. Now, in HTML, if you decided to comment out code, it's a little different. It starts with an angle bracket, exclamation point, 2 dashes. That starts your comment, and then 2 dashes, angle bracket, stops your comments. So if I move this down here, all of that becomes a comment, okay? So comments can be useful. Maybe you want to try something else, but you don't want to lose what you originally had. So comment that out, try something else, and then you still have something to fall back on. You still have your original stuff. You can just delete those comments out. Okay, another technique you can use with CSS is to add a border. Just add a red border around something, and that'll let you know at least where the location is on the page. And I'll show you some more of that as you start working on your web page. Now that kind of wraps up debugging, but let's talk about compatibility issues. So we know that HTML5 is relatively new. Okay, there's previous versions of HTML that exist. We also know that there are still some grandmas and grandpas out there that haven't updated their computer in 15 or 20 years. If they're using an old browser, our websites, our new elements like header and main, and the ones we learned in this chapter like article and section, are not going to appear on their computer the way that we want them to. So there's some things that we have to do for those compatibility issues, and these are always changing. So what works right now is not going to be what works in the future. It'll be your job as a software developer, as a web designer, to figure out what these are so that your website looks the same no matter what grandma or grandpa is using it. Okay? So this is a way to help these new elements like header, main, nav, and those are new. Those were with HTML5 and they didn't exist before then. And then the things we learned today like article and aside, to display block, and that will cause those older browsers to make those display properly. And then another thing that we use, and it goes right before your head closes or just in the head section, is called an HTML5 shim. And this is for IE9, Internet Explorer 9, and this will let our code appear the way that it should appear on Internet Explorer. Now, in the past, I've not cared about this. Like, when it asks for it, I'm just like, well, they shouldn't be using Internet Explorer 9. But we do need to consider that there are compatibility issues, and that it will be your job as the developer to find out what shim or what code that you need to add to make sure that your website appears the way that you want it to appear no matter who is viewing your website.